Hey guys, we're here again, Key Largo Volunteer Fire and Rescue Museum. Mike Edgerton with Smoke Stomper Media, and we are here with the fire chief of Key Largo, and his name is Ron Mobley. A legend here in Key Largo, and everybody knows Ron, and we are going to talk to him today in depth about some of his endeavors and some of his trials, maybe trials and tribulations of Key Largo and the fire department. Ron, we talked about a little bit in another interview with you about how you started in the fire service, but today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you went through in the fire service that you actually brought to Key Largo, to the Key Largo Fire Rescue Service. I know rope rescue was a big deal with you, and a plethora probably of other things that you showed us officers what you wanted done and how you wanted them completed. Can we go over just a few items that just really sparked your interest and you thought, I want to go and teach these guys some really cool stuff, and I want them to be able to perform out in the field with the community.
Absolutely. Before I get into that, let me just give a little background on it.
Okay.
You know, I kind of feel like my time as fire chief was a transition period.
Right.
You know, before me, the volunteer fire service, we provided a service, we responded to calls, we were always trying to get equipment, and it was a great time.
Right.
When I got to be fire chief, I tried to take the fire department into a more modern approach, to start writing some SOPs, some standard procedures, go into some of the technical rescues, some of the things just beyond responding to fires and car accidents.
Right.
And that was kind of my goal. As you know, I was hired by Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, so I got some exposure to a professional department up there, a very good, large department that had some of this stuff, and saw the need and the purpose of fire services providing this type of services to the community. So it was kind of my goal to get this fire department into that next level, if you would.
Right.
From just responding from fires and accidents to, you know, as you say, rope rescue, the water emergency team, some of the technical rescue, confined space, and all of those other areas start moving us forward into that type of activities rather than just the basic fire and accidents.
And when you changed hats and went from the Key Largo Fire Chief to the firefighter for Miami-Dade County, what did you do over at Miami-Dade County? You'd have to change hats so many times. I remember you being on air rescue. Talk a little bit about air rescue and the technical stuff that you used to do over in Miami-Dade.
Yeah, it was a transition, if you will, but it wasn't really that difficult. For me, it was a simple mindset. When I was here, I was fire chief. When I was there, I was a firefighter.
Right.
You know, as I said in the past, you know, hey, I can be a good chief, I can be a good Indian, doesn't matter, because what it's really about is getting the job done. Mm-hmm. It's not about egos and heroes. Mm-hmm. It's about getting the job done. Mm-hmm. Best person for the job, whatever it is, put that person in that position and get the job done.
Can I tell you something? This is sidebar from kind of what we're talking about, but I just thought about it, and it kind of brought me a chuckle to my mind, and I want to kind of display it to you. But you don't know what it was like being a firefighter or an officer under you here in Key Largo and watching air rescue, us marshal air rescue in, and then you jumping out. We had to be on top of our game because our fire chief, okay, it was an anxious thing. We wanted to perform perfectly for you because the boss is getting out doing another job, but he was still looking at his boys.
Of course.
No, which was really, really cool. So I thought I'd bring that up, but that was very, very interesting.
Well, I appreciate that perspective, Mike. But you know, the thing is that when I wasn't there, everybody still did a great job because you all were great people.
Right.
You know, you didn't have to have somebody telling you something to do. You knew it had to be done, and you guys always did a great job, whether I was there or not.
Right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. It was you taught us well, and we had a great experience as officers here in the department while you were fire chief. And go on and tell us a little bit more. I know you were in 9/11 and you went to New York. Talk a little bit about that for us.
Well, as you know, I was part of, Florida Task Force 1, kind of from its infancy. It started in 1985 when the Miami-Dade was asked to respond to the earthquake in Mexico City.
Right.
After they responded, and Miami-Dade was asked to go because had a lot of Spanish-speaking people in our department and close proximity.
Sure.
So, the federal government asked to send some help. And that really started the urban search and rescue. When we came back, the government saw the need for it, and being as we had kind of been involved from the very start, they said, well, can you, do some lessons learned, what did work, what didn't work, what equipment worked, what equipment didn't work.
Right.
And so that started the USAR program. And for many years, Miami-Dade and Fairfax, Virginia, were the only two teams that deployed internationally.
Mm-hmm.
You have, today I'm not sure how many teams there are as far as FEMA goes, but with that number keeps growing because the assets keep growing.
Sure.
But anyway, like I say, on Florida Task Force 1, we were deployed to go to 9/11.
Right.
A very difficult response. Different than traveling to places where there's a disaster, so to speak, because it was not only civilians, but it were firefighters, police officers, medical people that were involved,
right,
and made it a very challenging response.
Right. So we lost 343, I think the number was, in the 9/11 attacks, and yeah, that had to be tough to go and do some of those tasks, taking bodies out and stuff like that. Had to be unbelievable. Ron, do you have anything that sticks out in your mind being here in Key Largo? Any of the fires? I talked to all the officers, some of the YouTube interviews that I've done. I've talked to several people and asked them if there's anything in their career that stuck out. It could be a good call, it could be a bad call, it could be anything that just stuck out. Like for instance, Benny Gonzalez, he talked about the Mellons fire and how big that was, and it involved a lot of automatic aid from other departments and stuff like that. Is there anything that you can think of? I know it's kind of throwing it right at you, but is there anything that you can think of that sticks out, that you were on, that just you're like, man, this is something else?
Well, as you know, we had several large fires down here over the years. A couple at Ocean Reef that we responded as mutual aid.
Right.
The Tiki fire, I forget the name of the...
Tahiti Village.
Tahiti Village, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Tahiti Village, where it was just one big massive tiki hut.
Right.
The gas station fire across the street on the other side of US 1 that used to have the external above ground fuel tank.
Right.
The gasoline tanker that rolled over at the curve down in Tavernier, right in front of the bank. I think one of the comical things, if you will, is I can still remember, this gasoline tanker went around the corner, rolled over, caught on fire, massive fire blocking US 1. We went down as mutual aid with Tavernier, of course. Well, when that ignited, it blew the windows out of the bank there. And I can remember the deputies, because it's a bank.
Right.
They're standing in front of the bank, guarding the bank in the heat, and they're trying to do this because of the heat. So
yeah.
There's always some things that stick in your mind that are humorous along with tragic.
Right.
And going on to that, to answer your question kind of directly, I think probably the one thing that sticks out in my mind as far as the fire goes is when I very first got on the department.
Right.
Cliff Haddon was a City of Miami firefighter, helped out down here and did some training with us.
Sure.
And we had a house donated at the 106 where we were going to burn it down as a training. And I mean, I was just on this department, I didn't know anything about anything.
Right.
And so I can remember we're standing there and Cliff is standing there talking to us, and we've got our lines pulled out and everything, and I'm standing there, and and I've got the hose, and I'm like listening to him when I'm talking, and for some reason I opened the bail on the nozzle, and I just shot him straight in the chest with water at this training fire. And it's like, okay.
While he's talking.
Yeah, while he's
That's
talking, he's
great.
standing there, and he's got his coat open and his hat on, and he's saying, and then we're going to do this, and right in the face, and he's like, bet you won't do that again, will you? But yeah,
That's fantastic.
You like I say, you have some of the humorous things along with the tragic things,
Right.
and fortunately for myself, I remember more of the humorous things.
Right.
The tragic things able to just put away.
Right. Well, there's one thing that I think of that is unique to you, and I think you'll agree. But countywide, we have a dispatch. We used to call Plantation Key. We would call them PK. We would call them, anyways. The radio systems that we have in the county, you would push the mic and it would just key up the mic. It was direct. You'd key it up and you could start transmitting. And the only radio in the county, Chief Ron Mobley had, it was almost like a 800 megahertz. It would dial up first. It would go, brrr, and then you would hear Chief 6 PK. And it was the only one in the county. And let me tell you, the flack I used to catch about, there he is. There's Mr. Sunshine. He's on the radio. Here we go. Let's hear what he's got to say. So it's just been like the talk of the county, and I found it unique and very, very cool being on the department with the only radio that did that, and it was our fire chief, Ron Mobley. But Ron, is there anything else you'd like to go over or talk about that just sticks out in your head that you enjoy? How was your experience with the museum here on July 4th?
This today was absolutely fantastic. Far beyond my expectations for the grand opening. I think Frank's also, and I just have to say that a lot of people were involved in putting this museum together.
Right.
But without question, if it wasn't for Frank, it wouldn't be here.
That's correct.
And we thank him for that.
Yep.
The turnout, like I say, beyond my expectations, I think beyond his, beyond yours.
Beyond mine, yep.
Absolutely
sure.
fantastic. It brings back a lot of memories,
Right.
Spending time walking through, looking at some of the stuff.
Sure.
Because I personally owe a lot to this department.
Right.
If it wasn't for me getting involved with volunteers, I never would have had an interest in becoming a career firefighter up in Miami-Dade.
Right.
And that was probably one of the best things that happened in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I owe it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this museum gives credit back to that department.
Right. Absolutely amazing. We had a great time here at the Key Largo Fire Rescue Museum on July 4th, Independence Day of our country, and we thank you, Ron, very, very much for sitting with us and chatting with us. Anybody else you can think of that you would love to see on YouTube? Any special guests you'd love for me to interview? You're the only person I've asked this question of, so I think it'd be interesting to see if there's anything that just jumps out at you. You'd like to hear his story or her story.
Well, I'm sure some of the people I would say are going to be on your list, like Chief Garcia.
Correct.
Unfortunately, some of the people I'd put on my list are no longer with us.
Right. Right.
But perhaps maybe you can, I know with Chief Leone, you interviewed Lorraine,
Right.
his ex-wife.
We did.
Maybe we could do some of that with some of the old chiefs too.
Sounds good. Some of
Get
the
some family input on
family input in their side of it.
Yeah.
Great idea. Fantastic. As a matter of fact, we're gonna make that happen.
Great.
Thank you so much, Chief Mobley, and we're going to be moving on down the road. I think our next stop, hopefully, is going to be Rome, Georgia, and we're going to go see William Wagner, one of your dearest friends and
yeah.
buddies. and we're going to hear his story, and I think it will be super, super amazing, because I tell you, him, Billy Wagner, William Wagner, the Wagner family is just an absolute, it's going to be a joy to talk to.
Absolutely.
So thank you again, Ron.
All right.
Ron Mobley, appreciate it very much.
All right, thank you.
We'll see you next time right here on Smoke Stomper Media. This is Mike Edgerton signing off.